Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football. I called you. I didn't give you the answer to this. I called you and I said, how many SEC teams are in the top 20 in strength of schedule? You said 11. And I said, no, Spencer. It is 16 teams.
Yeah, okay.
There are 16 of them in the SEC. 20th in the country in strength of schedule is Missouri. They play 8 home games, and despite being in that conference, don't have a single game against a college football playoff team from last year. 20th in strength of schedule. Pretty cheesy non-conference as well. Kansas could be an issue. Can you tell me what happens when the number 20 team in ESPN's strength of schedule beats the number 16 team in strength of schedule?
Not much.
Because, see, it kind of feeds itself, doesn't it? When number 7 beats number 6 and number 1 beats number 10, you think, well, of course, that strength of schedule is only going up because you played the number 1 team in strength of schedule and you are the number 10 team. What we have created, if we get to the end of the season and say that wins don't matter, strength of schedule does, Missouri is going to be in the college football playoff over the runner-up of the Big 12, because before we've even done a snap, automatically Missouri has an incredible resume that should have them as deserving of a playoff spot if they win, say, 8 or 9 games.
Yeah, the comments by Tony Petitti at Big Ten Media Days were pretty repulsive, specifically with regards to, I don't find him to be a repulsive person, just to be clear.
Thank you.
But him saying an 8-4 record percentage-wise is a playoff team in just about every other sport. I was the Care Bear on Family Guy throwing himself in front of the moving truck. Okay, like I was, no, stop it. Just please stop it. Last year, 10-2 BYU got almost no consideration despite having a road win against an at-large playoff team and 10 wins on the year. Got basically no consideration for the college football playoff. Now, do I think they should have been in? No, I do not, because I think the committee got it right. Where the committee messes up the most, because I am way more pro-committee than most. I actually think most college football people, I talked to Cloud about this at Big Ten Media Days, and you know, I asked him, like, well,
and
why?
He knew exactly who you were?
No, I don't think so. I just realized I could have lied there and no one would have known. But anyway, we had a nice chat because he and I see the playoff very differently about what the best format is, what's best for college football there. And I said, well, where do you think the committee's gotten it wrong? And he said, well, I don't think they've necessarily gotten it wrong. And I think that's a pretty common response. You know, Josh Pates told me the same thing. Like, no, the committee's not getting it wrong. I'm like, so what is your objection here? Why is everyone so, the committee's got to go? We can't have this committee. The committee is terrible. The best argument I've seen for getting rid of the committee is what happens on the back end of the top 25. There has been one team in each of the last several seasons in which I've watched them get ranked from the SEC, and it's been completely preposterous. That was Tennessee 2 years ago, was absolutely blown out. They didn't just lose to top 20 teams. They were housed. The score differential on aggregate was like 75-20 or something in back-to-back weeks. But they were sitting there at 8-4, still ranked inside the top 25. And last year, and the year before to an extent, it was Missouri, who had a good record. But I watched and went, yeah, okay, Texas A&M is a fine team, first-year head coach. They're a good team. They're nowhere near great. They're not a college football playoff team. Ran Missouri out of the building.
Yeah.
And the committee was just like, well, you know, they're in the SEC and they've got wins. Like, do these games just not matter at all whatsoever? It's the same thing when Lane Kiffin goes out there and says, look at what we had to do. Look at the schedule that we had to go through. I'm like, dog, you lost to Kentucky. Stop talking, please. It's just, it's annoying when that sort of stuff pops up and it's just inconsistent, and it's definitely frustrating. If you're a Big 12 fan, yeah, I understand why you don't like a lot of these sort of metrics that get used to determine all of that. However, just in my own viewing, my own interpretation, I haven't seen the committee get it wrong yet. I'm including Florida State, by the way. I supported Florida State not being in a 4-team playoff. Put them in a 12-team playoff. Guess what? It's not getting them closer to winning a national championship. Whether that was a 4-team playoff or a 64-team playoff, I regret to inform Florida State fans, you are one Jordan Travis injury away from being able to win a national title. You weren't going to do that. I know because I watched them play without him. They were awful. They were literally awful. And that didn't change. They went and played in the bowl game, and both sides, I think, had players opt out. And what was it, 65-3?
It was historically bad.
Yeah, it was historically bad. Like, I just, at the end of each year, I have a good idea. You have a good idea. Everybody has a good idea of who's actually good enough to go win the national championship. You know who else knows that? The committee. The committee's got a pretty good idea. And I have not seen them, in the confines and the rules that they are given, get it wrong. They keep getting it in people's own words right over and over again. And then people come out, we got to get rid of the committee. I'm like, what did they mess up? They messed up some stuff on the back end. Okay, it's never going to be perfect. It's a subjective sport.
So this strength of schedule, I said rigged. I don't know what other word there is for it. We haven't played a game yet, and Missouri gets to be 20th. This doesn't worry you at all.
No, it does. It does, especially in a landscape that is seeing the SEC not be the same dominant conference that it once was. I have long been a proponent of SEC bias. The last 2 years of college football have changed my opinion. There was not, before the last couple of seasons, any year in which the SEC could just not even make the national championship game. No one should be expected to win it every year. I don't think the SEC suddenly sucks, and the SEC is just never going to win a national championship again. Not my take. What I am saying, and will continue to say, is this is not the same. Because what has happened over the last 2 years, I'm telling you, theoretically was impossible and literally was impossible. What was the last national championship game played without the SEC? Before these last two.
Without the SEC altogether? Probably what? 2009? No. Oh.
You got to go back a long ways. And so once you introduce these big changes to roster composition with the portal and NIL, and suddenly something happens that hasn't happened in well over a decade, I'm supposed to believe that's a coincidence? Absolutely not. And so you can still look at the SEC and argue it's the best conference. I'd argue the Big Ten, seeing as though they're the one winning national championships at the moment. You can argue the SEC is clearly number 2. You can argue that it's got a lot of debt. You can do that, but you can't give it the same level of ingrained bias towards that league that you used to, or else you're just not being on it. And I don't care what the hypothetical spreads were and such, because I mean, I watched Arkansas lose to a garbage Oklahoma State team last year. I watched Auburn lose to a middling as hell Cal team last year. I watched Oklahoma lose its bowl game to Navy. I watched Alabama lose to a not very good but not great Michigan team. And Alabama had all their guys there and playing. Like, this is not... I watched Georgia get pushed around by Notre Dame. I watched Georgia Tech go into Athens and take them to 8 overtimes. Georgia Tech was what, the 4th team in the SEC or the ACC last year? 4th or 5th? Georgia was the SEC champs. Like, I can go on, but we just forgot. Miami went into the swamp and dog walked Florida. We just forgot that all these things happen, and the offseason, I think, has been filled with a lot of narratives about, well, you know, preseason polls say this, and the strength of schedule is all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, I'm sorry, this is just not the same as what it used to be.
Not all preseason polls are bad. Some of them
no, that one's good. When Texas Tech goes 8-4, you and I should resign from this network.
Yes, we should. I guess we should. Where can folks find more of your work?
YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On College Football and Locked On Ducks if you want to find out more about Oregon. And I'm on Twitter at @SMcLaughlinCFB if you want to tell me that this was fun and you enjoyed it, or that I definitely look like a famous cartoon villain from my childhood and your childhood. So, yeah, if you want to do any of that, by all means, shoot me a message anytime.
This has been, it always will be, Locked On. It's a crossover between Big 12, college football, and thanks for making it your first listen every single day on Locked On Dose Grande.